last question. Would you date a guy who legally owned a firearm? Let's start with you.
I think it depends on the context. If we live out in the back, in the wilderness in Alaska somewhere, yeah, absolutely.
Urban setting.
I mean, I would just be confused as to why he felt the need to have it. I don't know. It just doesn't seem necessary. It's a tool, right? It's a
self-defense.
In an urban setting, I mean,
isn't
that's where you need it the most.
Pretty ideal.
I mean,
here, we'll let everybody answer, but okay, Jasmine, we'll go with you, and we'll go.
Would I date a guy who legally owns a firearm?
Yeah.
Sure.
Just one?
Yeah,
I'm good with just one.
He
don't need a whole cabinet.
He owns one. He owns a couple. Whatever.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, I definitely would. I have like a weird fear of like an intruder at night or something, and I do like the idea of like we have one just in case. Yeah.
My husband has several firearms, so yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you said no.
Well, I'm not anti-gun. Like, I think recreationally they're fun, and I think I don't know. And for me, I guess I don't have very much experience in an urban setting. In a populated area, I don't know. In my mind, it's like, oh, you need a gun because there's some sort of animal or something like that, and it's just like, I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about much about it. Yeah, I don't. I mean, there's ways to prevent that. Sure. That's a very preventable thing.
Is it? You can prevent.
You can lock your doors. You can have security footage. You can have alarms.
Security footage.
You can live in a building with a doorman.
Okay, let's say you don't have any of those things.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's a circumstance where it would make sense for you to need a gun, then yeah, I guess. But
your current place you live, is there a doorman?
No, I live in a community of college students, and there's a very large police presence, and I lock the doors and close the windows at night, and it's fine.
Okay. Here's a scenario, right? Let's say you do you live with your boyfriend?
I do not.
You don't? Okay. Maybe one day you're living with a partner. 3 men are starting to break into your house that you share with your boyfriend. Mm-hmm. Would you want your boyfriend to have a firearm to defend the home, defend you in that situation?
I mean, I don't think it's necessary that he has a gun to defend. Like, I mean, turn on all the lights, hit the car alarm, startle, Call
the police?
Sure, that's not. They're not there, but that's not.
Sometimes you don't have enough time to just.
Right, but I don't. I don't think having a gun is necessarily perfect in every situation either. It's so much more complex than that. And also, if they have a gun and you have a gun, like, no one's winning that.
Well, I mean, if you're a good shot, but
quick draw.
I mean, you just
quick draw. Okay,
it makes sense in some circumstances. Sure. I'm not
How about this? None of them have guns.
Okay.
Would you prefer your boyfriend to attempt to expel the invaders with his own fists or with a gun?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think if it's possible, if it would be realistically possible for them to be freaked out that there's people home, because in my mind, when someone's breaking in, they want an easy thing. They're not trying to have a fight. They're trying to go into a home where no one's there.
You don't know that. What if, let's say you have kids too? Who knows? These guys are deranged fucks. They're on meth, whatever. Who knows?
I mean,
okay.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
He does. Okay. You can choose any weapon for your boyfriend. It could be a fucking trebuchet.
That doesn't make a difference.
You can give him a trebuchet, but they don't have a weapon. They just have their hands. But it's 3 of them and one of your boyfriends.
Well, the weapon doesn't matter. It's a weapon. A gun versus a giant knife. I mean, it's gonna have a similar
difference between getting into a knife fight.
Well, okay. Well, I think when I think about it, if you walk out with a rifle in your hand, regardless if you actually shoot it, even if there's ammo in it, that is what's going to do the scaring. So if you walk out with your massive katana or whatever, that's also going to have a similar effect if that's what's doing the scaring away of the intruders.
So
or,
katana and Glock.
Haven't you seen those like action movie scenes where like the guy comes out like wielding all these knives and then they just shoot him and fight's over? Yeah.
Wait, it's okay.
I actually
Okay.
haven't seen that.
I don't know.
Do you want your partner to have a firearm in that circumstance?
I mean, I don't think having a specific firearm is gonna make like a huge difference. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Would you rather your boyfriend defend you with a firearm or with his fists?
Well, obviously a firearm, any weapon, right? It doesn't matter.
Okay,
But
all
I
right.
think it's kind of a moot point because there's so many ways to kind of prevent this situation, and
Are there?
yeah.
Really?
If you had your home broken into,
Home
To
invasions
prevent?
where people are in the home is pretty rare. It does seem
Yeah,
There's
it's
a million
actually
a
it's
year.
only pretty rare or rarer in places like the United States. In places like the UK, it's
well, it's a
actually
good thing
very,
we live in
very
the United
common.
States.
But why? But do you know why that there's the difference? A lot of people say it is because of the firearm ownership in the United States, because those like I forget what they're called, hot break-ins, when you're actually home and someone breaks in. They're very, very common in other places, but not here. And it is because I think there's the fear of the firearm.
right?
You're just
and that's fine.
assuming
People
that,
can
though.
be scared of a firearm. That doesn't mean
Well, I
have
mean
to
they've
have
done
one.
studies like kind of doing
That's
like
keeping
correlations
and they've
between
separated the variable of
Just
gun
the thought.
ownership.
I don't even need
firearm
one.
ownership. Yeah, and that's a pretty easy thing to do, especially like if you're looking at somewhere like Europe. Obviously, I would always love to have more variables in a study
Yeah.
rather than fewer, but that is one of the pretty. I mean, you also have like demographic, overall crime, and
So like,
stuff.
what about was this found in Europe in general or just the UK? Because
UK
that would make
specifically is
Okay.
the one I'm familiar with.
So I'd be curious as to like because France or Sweden or Denmark or these places too, because they tend to have less crime in general and they don't have firearms either. So I'd be curious. Or Australia,
I'm not saying that the I don't know about the rates of break-ins, but we're talking about break-ins happening versus you're here versus you're not there.
Yeah. So I'm curious
Yeah.
if it's just UK, I don't think it would lead to, because we'd have to see if it was in other countries too.
Also, ideally, different U.S. states.
Sure.
All right, there you have it, folks. Any final thoughts before I wrap up? Speak now, forever hold your
Subscribe to my
peace.
OnlyFans.
Don't do that, guys. Don't do it. Don't do it.
They will.
Final thought.
I mean, I had all these questions ready and we never got to them.
What were your What were your questions?
Nah, it's too late now.
Last.
Bender the Offender donated $99. If I were a thief sneaking into your house and i.e. your partner is pointing a 12 gauge at me, I would leave.
Yes, and if my partner also, you came in through the garage and you walked in, turned on the light and started screaming at you and then hit the car alarm button, you would also probably leave.
Depends what their motivation is.
I've never heard the car alarm one. Like,
Hit
oh,
the
someone's
alarm,
going off
like
outside.
hit the panic
Alarms
button,
in
create
general,
noise.
yeah, make people run away because
Yeah.
it causes noise, neighbors.
Oh.
Loose Pussy Energy donated $99. Ryan's new intro. Welcome to the Insufferable Podcast.
Welcome.
You could have been anywhere in the world. You probably should have. I apologize for that. Drugs and alcohol highly recommended.
All right, there you have it. LPE, thank you very much for much appreciated. Final thought, Lauren, or
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. And if people want to hear more of me, you can find me on YouTube, Lauren Chen.
oh, we got another one.
Raven DT donated $100. This is why military service should be compulsory for both men and women. It's clear none of the women have been in a life or death situation. Even military pilots carry firearms when on military flight ops over hostile territory.
Yes,
life
and
or- yeah, go for it.
I'm very grateful that we have a military, so I don't have to be in a life or death situation on a daily basis. That's why
Most
we have a
people,
military,
yeah.
to protect ordinary citizens. And of course, military aircraft have weapons on board. It's a military aircraft. That makes sense.
And we're lucky to live in a country where we're not facing those situations as much as other countries are. The majority of us are going to go through our lives without a life or death situation, and we should all be grateful for that. And I don't think men's only role in society should be protecting women in this post-apocalypse, these scenarios that people come up with.
Word.